One. Welcome back, guys, to another ABL Sports video. Today we are debuting ABL Sports MLB, and no better person to do it with here than Jackson Shub.
How's it going, everyone?
He's got his own podcast about the MLB. We'll link that in the description. And as always, subscribe. And also, if you want to check out our NFL recap series after this video, please feel free to do that. We'll link that after this video as well. So, a lot of MLB stuff happening this offseason as we get closer to the season, football ending. MLB is kind of the main thing now. So we're gonna kind of kick it off. Jackson, what are some of your thoughts and things you want to talk about today?
Yeah, definitely. So free agency has been pretty crazy this offseason. Trades as well. We've seen a lot more trades than at least I'm used to in my lifetime. But I
Yeah.
wanted to start off talking about free agency because it really changes the league a lot when big players sign with different teams who might be making a new push for playoffs and they were rebuilding before, and in cases like that. So I wanted to talk about some of the signings, and I wanted to start off with the newest, biggest signing, which was Framber Valdez. He just signed a 3-year, $115 million contract with the Tigers, which for me, it's a pretty big deal because you've also got Tarek Skubal there. He won his arbitration case, one of the biggest arbitration cases of all time.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that rotation's looking great, and they should be an exciting team. What are you thinking?
Yeah, no, they're going to be a really fun team to watch. I mean, that's a nasty 1-2 punch with Tariq Skubal and Frember, both lefties too. They're gonna be a problem. I mean, you look at this Tigers team. I know they're only gonna have one more year with Tariq Skubal, which is, I mean, it's just the kind of unfortunate reality of the MLB. But but in this 1 year, we're gonna get some pretty entertaining. And I am praying the Tigers are really good going into the trade deadline because the
Hmm.
last thing you want is for them to be bad and trade and move off Tariq. So,
Right. Sorry, continue.
oh yeah, no problem. So, and also, like, I know, I mean, the Tigers were already a very good, playoff caliber team, and now they just added to it, and this could be the next step that they need. Because as we have seen in the past, the MLB is the one league out of the big three sports league in the United States of America that you can build through free agency. Like, I know,
Yeah, no. Sorry,
oh
keep
no,
going.
please, sorry, go on.
Well, I was gonna say, you're right. And what I was thinking is it's a great signing, don't get me wrong. I think he would have been better with a team like the Orioles, team that really needs
Yeah,
a pitcher that can help them out, lead that rotation. Because Framber's not gonna be leading that rotation. Quite obvious. He's the number two punch there. But Skubal, I mean, yeah, like you said, he might be gone after next year. The way it seems, he doesn't seem too happy in Detroit. And
yeah.
I understand why they signed Framber maybe as a replacement for Skubal after this year, but I think they need to focus more on that offense. They've got a good squad there, but as we saw in the playoffs, that could be what their problem is.
Oh yeah, they
Skubal,
got destroyed. I felt like, they were really holding like in the playoffs, like the pitching staff was holding their own. And it wasn't even this deep before. And it's just I was like, guys, like let's get a hit, let's get it, like even like a double, like
exactly, and Skubal pretty much threw a shutout and still couldn't have anything backing him. And that's the problem with him being on that team. He knows that he's not getting that run support. It's similar to Jacob deGrom back when he was with the Mets. He got no run support. He won a Cy Young with a 10-9 win and loss record. That is
oh, I
unheard
mean that's
of. It
unheard
never
of. Like
happens.
I mean now Paul Skeens is like doing it with probably
He's
an
doing
even
the
worse
exact same
record.
thing.
But it's
Yeah.
still, and if I'm a Tigers fan, just kind of going on Screwball, sorry to like deteriorate from the topic. I mean, I'm seeing Max Scherzer 2.0. Like a guy, and here's like Scherzer wasn't even this good when he was on the Tigers. Scherzer was like a number two behind Verlander.
Absolutely. That team back then was
Oh,
that pitching rotation was insane, and there's no getting better than that. But
and they had an offense too.
oh, absolutely. And honestly, Tigers are a great team, but I think a more enjoyable team right now, and I don't want to put too much bias here as my Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm a big Dodger fan. And I kind of want to talk about some of those signings because Dodgers just signed, or first of all, they signed Edwin Diaz, which is one of the best signings that the Dodgers could have made. That bullpen is
And
clearly
for
the
the
weakest
value
part.
too, I felt like you got
Value is
value.
great. Value is great. I mean, Dodgers clearly have money to spend, even though they are already spending it. But clearly, the problem through that whole playoff run or whole regular season last year and that playoff run was the bullpen was the problem. And Tanner Scott all year was our closer and didn't do the job. And that's
Yeah.
because when he was with the Orioles was a setup man. And so having Diaz is perfect because I think Tanner Scott will have a bounce back. He's a guy that should not be closing out games. He should be setting up that close. And Diaz is the exact guy we want to do that. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, no. So I this was actually I know everyone's going to talk about the Kyle Tucker signing. This was my favorite signing by the Dodgers. And I would probably say in the past 2 years, in terms of, I mean, 3 years, 39 million, I believe it was. I mean,
Mhm.
$13 million for a closer. If he gives you like, let's say 7 games per week, so like let's just say 4 to 6 solid innings a week. I mean, the Dodgers' one struggle was their was their bullpen, as you said, and in
Mhm.
the postseason, kind of magically kind of became like good, but that was their one thing. And Edwin Diaz, I don't want to say he solves it, but he certainly helps it. It's not like it's not putting tape on the problem. Like it's much better than that. Like he definitely helps the problem in their bullpen, which it's weird to say that the Dodgers have problems because they back-to-back World Series champions.
But they still do. They
Yeah.
compared to the rest of their team, like that lineup is so good to have the bullpen they had last year. And I think this is perfect because for me, I loved seeing Roki Sasaki come out of the bullpen as our closer in the playoffs. But it was risky. And Dave Roberts, making that decision, it paid off. But he's never done that before. He came up as a starter, and now he can go back to that.
Mhm.
Rotation's looking great. You've got guys like Glasnow, you've got guys like Snell, you've got Sasaki back, and of course Yamamoto
And
and
Shohei
some
too,
other
and he's gonna
guys.
be fully
Oh,
healthy.
and Shohei. Can't even forget Shohei.
Yeah, fully healthy.
Um, fully healthy, absolutely. But Dodgers also made that Kyle Tucker signing, which we'll talk a little more about the implications of
Yeah.
it with all of MLB later. But again, I mean, signing Kyle Tucker it benefits any team that does it.
Mhm.
I think the contract was a little crazy. He's so overpaid. I don't
But
think
you
he's.
could afford it, so it's like,
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think Kyle Tucker is to the caliber that people really think he is. I think he's a great player and he can be a top 20 player in the league when he wants to be, but highlight the when he wants to be.
yeah, I don't think
He had
Kyle Tucker. I think the days like from 2019 about 2022, like those days of him being, one of the best hitters in the league and like being like an MVP, like got kind of like front runner. I think those days are kind of behind him. And I think it's
yeah.
mainly because of he just simply doesn't want it. I'm going to be honest, getting paid, I don't think that's going to motivate him anymore. Like
Exactly. And
he wasn't motivated when he wasn't getting paid.
exactly, he had that one really good season. I think it was back in 2023, but since then, he's been, I wouldn't say mediocre. He's been a star player, but
Above
for a star
average.
player,
He's
I'd
been
say
like if
four.
oh
Oh, go
go
ahead. Well, I'm sorry. I was going to say for a star player, he's been mediocre, and if that makes sense, and I think he's great, but that's where he's at, and it's tough because the Cubs just lost. The Cubs are now a contending team once again,
Mhm.
and they're losing out on him now. But they just
How
signed
do they
Alex
keep doing
Bregman.
that? I feel like every offseason, like they lose out about Bellinger, they're a contender. They lose out about Kyle Tucker.
Yeah,
Even when they broke up their big three of Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, like the next year they were just fine.
right. But now they have Bregman, so they're going to be just fine. They
Oh
just
yeah.
signed him. That was another signing that I think was incredible. I mean, I think all of baseball fandom and the league itself saw Bregman re-signing with the Red Sox. He seemed happy there. They needed him, and he decided to sign with the Cubs. I think he looks great in Chicago, and that should be fun. And speaking of Chicago, White Sox made a move, and they got Munetaka Murakami, 2-year deal. He's coming straight from Japan, and I don't know. What do you think? White Sox making a signing? They're not looking good, but they made an addition.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know why you go to the White Sox at this point. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, as much as it hurts me to say this, it's like, why go to the Angels when you go to the Dodgers? Why go to the White Sox when you go to the Cubs? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, the White Sox, I mean, they finally ripped the Band-Aid off of Luis Robert, who
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. Great trade,
yeah,
honestly.
who I will say, I think he's gonna pop off this year. I really, I think he's
Now
gonna,
that they've traded him, I agree.
yeah, wonder who he actually kind of reminds me of? And sorry to go a little off topic. Like I
No,
like
you're
to make
good.
these comparisons between leagues, and I'm not saying he's as good as this guy yet, but Paulo Banchero with the Magic, like in
Mm.
my opinion, top 10 player in the NBA. No one will say that because he plays in Orlando. Luis
But he's
Robert,
great. Yeah.
I think Luis Robert is top 15 to 30 talent in the MLB, and that's honestly saying a lot because like all these
It
like
is. Yeah.
so many guys now, and I think he's going to show up this year, and he's going to get finally attention he deserves because he's not going to be overshadowed.
Absolutely. And I think it was one of those trades that was beneficial for both teams because they sent Luis Angel Acuna back out to Chicago. Relative of Ronald Acuna, he might not have that same skill set, but he's got some good stuff. So it'll be interesting to see him in Chicago now. But I was thinking, with this Murakami signing, I think it's trade collateral. I think what the White
Oh
Sox
yeah.
want to do is use him around the deadline, either this year or next year. They've only got 2 years of control over him, and they're going to use him to obtain more pieces to where they can start to rebuild back into what I don't want to say what they were because the White Sox were never great. But back in 2019, I mean, they were
Didn't they make the playoffs during COVID, if I recall correctly?
yeah, I mean, I can't remember if they actually made the playoffs or not, but they should have. That team was
No, because that
good.
was the 8 team playoff year. So basically everybody made it.
Okay, yeah. And that team was in 2019, 2020, the roster was great.
Yeah.
And last year, not this year, but this year was bad, but last year was the maybe the worst MLB season we've seen from any other team ever. Um,
Yeah.
and so it's nice to see that they're not kind of sticking with that being trash and they're
Yeah.
not still tanking and they're working their way back up.
Yeah, and like, just a kind of a more broad question. If you're like like a Chicago White Sox, Pittsburgh Pirates, Angels, like Rockies, like how do you like kind of level up to not even like I'm not saying playoff team, but like maybe like God forbid a 81 and 81 season? Like
Yeah.
because I mean, it feels like in the NFL there's so much parity, and the MLB the last couple years, and I feel like this is a more broader issue, and we're gonna
Hmm.
get into it as this video goes on. But just the MLB as like a whole, like it's the same teams. Like the only team that's normally on top that wasn't on top, in my opinion, this year were the Braves, and they were loaded with injuries. Like I have a feeling they'll be back in a
They'll
year
be
or two.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not the same talent they were before, but you're right. They'll be fine.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a problem, in a sense. I mean, I love the Dodgers, but and I'm a big Dodger fan, but I don't consider myself, I mean, this sounds crazy, but I don't consider myself in that same pool of Dodger fans. And that's because I'm
Yeah.
realistic with it. Um, we're not ruining the league. We're doing great things. And other teams can do what we're doing, but since they're not, we are ruining the league. The money we're spending is insane. I don't think there's a problem with it, but no other teams want to spend. And the only teams who want to spend right now are the same teams we're seeing in the playoffs. The Mets. I think the Mets are the number one competitor of the Dodgers right now in any league.
Oh,
I
Steve
think,
Cohen's the second best owner in the MLB. He's phenomenal.
right. He's great. Actually, I don't know if I'd say they're more of a threat than the Blue Jays still, but in the NL, they are a threat.
Oh
They are
yeah.
our biggest threat. And, they lost out on Pete Alonso. They lost out on Edwin Diaz, but they regained. They got Bo Bichette, Devin Williams. Kind of remember they made some other
Traded for
moves.
Luis Robert.
Semien. They traded for Robert. They traded for Semien. They want to make it
They're
work, and
trying.
they can't sometimes. But sorry to answer your question. I'm going on a full tangent, but I really think that we do see other teams in the playoffs year by year. It's just not as big of a change as you want to see, like the NFL maybe. Um, but I think this year should be interesting. I think seeing the Blue Jays make such a push last year was new, and this year, I think Red Sox still looking good. Rangers might be. Um, I think the Rangers are a team that can make something work, maybe enter back into the playoffs. And the team for sure that I think we'll see back in the playoffs from a few years ago, and we never see them in the playoffs, is the Diamondbacks. What do you think?
I was not expecting that one,
I
but
can I can I can talk about that if you'd
yeah,
like. I mean,
yeah, no, I mean, I could see it. I just think the only problem is, it's such a tough division. Like
of course.
when you're playing, like, I think it's probably what 40 games a year against the NL West. Actually, we'll say 30 because I don't count the Rockies. I mean, that's like it's the
They
Rockies.
don't count. They don't count.
Yeah, but even
Well,
when the
playing at their
Giants
stadium
have
helps.
Yeah, even when the Giants have been mediocre, they've still been they still, give teams problems. The
Yeah.
Padres, like I said, you can't count them out, and they still got so much talent on the team. I mean, they almost won the division this year.
Yeah. No,
Like,
exactly.
and so it's if they were in the NL Central or even the NL East, I'd be like, yeah, like I could see it. But I want further explain this one.
Yeah, I mean, Diamondbacks are already a team that has some pieces that are threats. Top three that I can think of right now. Ketel Marte is always going to be a great guy. Geraldo Perdomo turned into a star last year
Oh
out of
yeah,
nowhere. And the number one player on that team for sure is Corbin Carroll.
Corbin
Young
Carroll.
outfielder, fast, has power. I mean,
He's
he's
fun to watch too.
he's fun to watch. He's incredible. They've also got guys like Corbin Burns. They've really got talent. And this year, this offseason, they traded for Nolan Arenado. Um, now Nolan Arenado
He's not
isn't
the
what he
same
used to
guy,
be.
but
Not the same guy, but he's an incredible player.
I think if you
And
put
that,
him in the 5 or 6 hole, he's a great 5 or 6 hole guy. Like,
yeah, no, absolutely. And I just think with that infield, you've got Perdomo, you've got Marte, you've got Arenado. Um, I just think I think that's a good team. They looked good last year, and I think that they're going to look even better next year. Not going to say they're a playoff lock. Don't know if they'll be in my predictions yet. I haven't worked on that yet, but they're going to be a threat for the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers are still such an incredible team, and they don't have. It's really hard to beat them, but the teams in their division do a pretty good job of competing with them, I think.
Speaking of bold predictions, can I give you one?
Let's hear it.
I think the Phillies might miss the playoffs.
I like that. I love that.
Really?
I want to hear
Okay.
your reasoning now. I want to hear your reasoning.
I think, the Phillies were building towards last year. Because, it's not every team's like the Dodgers in the sense where they just reload every year. And I say this in college football sometimes. For example, last year Ohio State was building for 2024 to win the championship. They had to do it that year, and they did. The Phillies, they were building to win the 2025 World Series. And I think that game against the Dodgers, the error, whatever you want to call it, the Dodgers.
Yeah,
I don't even if it goes to five, the Dodgers still win that series. But
I agree.
I mean, they won two games in Philadelphia. But the Philly. I mean, I'm looking at that division. The Met. I mean, I think the Mets win it. I think it's pretty clear. And the Braves, they're not going to suck. Um, the Marlins always, the Marlins and the Marlins are the Marlins, but the Nationals. I'm not saying this year, but if you look at that young core, it's interesting. I think the Nationals are going to be one of those teams where you kind of look around at the All-Star game and you're like, oh, I didn't expect that team to have that many All-Stars. I think that could be kind of the Nationals.
The Nationals?
Yeah.
I'm gonna disagree with that. I think I agree with where we're going with the Phillies, and I'll give my input in a second. I think the Nationals are a horrible team. They have nothing. They are in a spot, actually, it's a really weird spot where they're rebuilding a rebuild. They were ass. Sorry, they were not good. Excuse my language. And they turned even worse, I think. And I think what it's very weird what they're doing. They just traded Mackenzie Gore. I mean, that's a good move for the Rangers, but the guy that could eventually have led that rotation to something. Used to be like the number three prospect in all the league. Like, I just don't know what they're doing. I don't think that they're going to be contending at all this year. But I like what you're saying around how the Phillies have competition. I
Which they
think,
haven't had in
yeah,
the past.
right. I think, yeah, the
Well, this
clear,
year in particular. I'll say this year in particular.
sure. And, I like you said, I think while the Mets are the clear favorite for that division, weren't they last year too? And they still somehow didn't win that. And that's because of the way they're managed. I mean, I don't think Steve Cohen's a phenomenal owner. I think he knows how to spend his money, but I don't think he knows how to run his team. And that has caused problems for them. They missed the playoffs completely. I think this year I'm still going to say they win that division. And that makes the Phillies not obviously able to do so. Um, do I think the Phillies can make the playoffs and they have a great shot? Absolutely. But there are other teams in the NL that can easily knock them out in wild card
Oh
instances.
yeah, I mean, if they
Um,
make the playoffs, their first round exits, in my opinion.
yeah, no, I don't think they go far. And it's if they do, it's a real good playoff push, and you gotta give them that. But I think there's some teams that will compete with them for that wild card spot better. If you think about it, that NL Central, the two teams that have an actual shot at all at winning it are the Cubs and the Brewers. The Brewers somehow always make it work. I
I
don't.
don't. I
Don't
can't
get me
explain
start.
it. Like they
Don't
lose
get me
Devin
started on the
Williams. They
Brewers.
lose Devin Williams. I mean, their pitching's still phenomenal, and then all of a sudden, Christian Yelich reemerges from the
No,
dead. Like,
they lost Corbin Burns.
yeah, no,
That's
him
how bad it
too.
was.
And I feel like the rotation is still like top 10 in the league. I mean, it's ridiculous. And even
It's
before Corbin Burns, they lost. Sorry, I'm blanking on the name, but then Corbin Burns was the guy that came out of nowhere. Like it's
no,
like,
exactly. It was Brandon Woodruff is who you're
oh
thinking
yes.
of. And he's been battling injuries too, I believe last year. So
Mhm.
it's a weird team. They also just traded one of their better rookies, Caleb Durbin. He's at the Red Sox now, I believe. But it's weird. But they're always going to be contending, and so Cubs, I think, win that division easily. But you've got teams like the Brewers and maybe even the Reds because they've signed Eugenio Suarez. They're not a bad team. They might compete with the Phillies for a playoff spot.
You
So,
want to transition
uh,
to the Reds? Because I was literally just about to bring them up.
let's do it. Yeah. What do you want to talk about with them?
I was gonna say I think the Reds are a team that I'm not saying they're gonna win the NL Central. I think it's pretty established. It's a Cubs versus Brewers competition for the foreseeable future until someone proves me wrong on that. or until
Right.
it's
And
like
also, before we go too into the Reds, I also just remembered the Brewers also lost Freddie Peralta in a trade to the Mets. So that's a great starter there that they're losing too. I still think they're going to do well this season. That's how they always do,
they're
but they're
still a
always
playoff
losing.
team, but
They're always losing players. But anyways, please continue.
so but like the only problem with the Reds is I like what they have going, and all those guys are getting older, and I know that that is important when you're rookies because you're a different player from when you're a rookie to you're a fourth year player. I
Hmm.
think that's very well established. Like if we're just using the Dodgers as an example, look at Shohei Ohtani. The Shohei Ohtani like about 4 years ago is loads better than the Shohei Ohtani 7 years ago. And
Absolutely.
my only problem is the NFL and the NL. There's not going to be many playoff spots up for grabs this year, unlike the AL. Like the NL, if you just go, let's go division by division. The Dodgers win the NL West. We'll just say it. We'll say we'll say the Cubs win the NL Central, just general thing, and we'll just say the Mets win the NL East. You got three more. The Brewers are going to be in, so that's four. The Padres are going to be in, that's five. The Diamondbacks, which I really liked your pick, very good sneaky team. The
Hmm.
Braves, we're not going to forget the Braves still have all this like absurd talent.
Totally.
And so you gotta just start looking at it. You're like, the Reds are gonna be battling with like three or four teams for that final spot. It's not like they're gonna be battling with three or four teams for two or three wild card spots. No, it's gonna be three or four teams for one spot, which is the only thing that kind of scares me. But if
Well, you
they're
got to
out
remember there's the new playoff format. So there's going to be two teams that make it.
from each division,
Yeah, since the last
okay.
few, no, not from each division, but you remember in the last few years they've expanded the playoffs, and so it's not just three teams plus the one wild card.
No, I said three teams plus three wild card.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard.
Yeah. Sorry, I got confused for a second.
No
Yeah.
worries, keep going.
So yeah, I was sorry because I said in the wild card, I said you can pencil the Brewers and Padres in, which is why they're fighting for one spot.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think it's going to be fun. The NL is going to be fun this year. I mean, I think while the Dodgers are clearly on a path to three-peat, and I am excited for that to hopefully happen, it's going to be a competitive. It's still going to be a competitive year for other teams, and it's baseball. Once you get to the playoffs, because the Dodgers will be the top team this year. I mean, there's no doubt
Yeah.
about it. But once you get to the playoffs, you never know what can happen in a 5-game, 7-game series, and so it's exciting. And what I want to, a team I want to talk about from their offseason, who I think will be in that playoffs, and will be able to fight for something in the AL, is the Orioles. Um, they've been
Keep
looking
stealing my
good.
takes.
They've been looking good. They already were a team that, they're in a division that's very competitive. The Red Sox are back.
They got
They're
five
good.
potential playoff teams on any given year.
The Rays right now are not, but they're getting there. They're
Yeah.
getting back there. Um, Right now, though, they've got that, that's that might be the most competitive division in baseball, and it feels like it always is. But the Orioles, they just got Pete Alonso. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
big move, and I think he's gonna thrive in Baltimore. I think that team's got a great lineup. They've got some arms. Um, they play well, and they also just traded for Taylor Ward, and I want your opinion on that as an Anaheim Angels fan. Losing out on
Um,
Taylor Ward, how do we feel? But wait, but you guys did gain Grayson Rodriguez, good pitching arm, just not healthy ever.
yeah, so I mean, listen, Taylor Ward's one of my favorite players in the MLB as an Angels fan. He's one of the few bright spots, but I understand it. I understand. I know the Angels. We're not competing for the playoffs or the World Series or even a 500 record anytime soon.
Hmm.
Um, so I understand the move, and I think Taylor Ward's a great addition, and I think he's a very underrated leadoff hitter.
Okay.
I know the Orioles kind of already got one, but I think Taylor Ward, I mean, he's a guy, he's going to get on base. He's going to hit probably 290, get on base, and he's going to throw in a couple home runs there too. And a team I want to switch to as we end this video to like in the NL East is a team that I may not pick to make the playoffs, the New York Yankees.
The AL East, you mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
wow, okay. So I want to hear why do you think the Yankees are not making the playoffs?
It was more of, last season how much they struggled in the playoffs. Like, I know they beat the Red Sox barely, but they beat
Hmm.
them. I mean, I think that series should have went to five. There was some close games, and
It was a
they got
really close series.
they
Yeah,
got demolished by the Blue Jays. Like, I
there we
mean,
go.
they got absolutely demolished. And I mean, I think it's partly because this new ownership group. Like, I mean, he's Steinbrenner's not like his father. His father was much better than him.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the AL, kind of same thing as the NL. Orioles and Blue Jays, I'm going to pencil them in. Tigers, I think probably with the AL Central. In the AL West, Mariners, they're not going anywhere. The Astros are kind of similar to the Cubs. You can't count them out.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the Rangers are going to be pretty interesting this year. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, the Yankees, like, they didn't really do anything to address the pitching. Like, the Yankees, it's like, for example, Edwin Diaz, spend the money. I know you have Devin Williams. There is no
Not
such
good
thing as
enough.
there's no such thing as too many good arms in the bullpen. You have
Mhm.
never seen a World Series champion be like, man, we had too many good pitchers in our bullpen. Like you have never heard a World Series that the Dodgers almost lost the World Series because of it. Like
Yeah.
it's like you've never heard a World Series champion ever say that. So I'm just like the Yankees. I wanted them to do something, and they're like, oh well, they re-signed Cody Bellinger. He was already on the team. Like
Yeah, because if they didn't re-sign him, they would have been worse. So you
yeah,
can't say they're even better now because all
they're
they did
not. They
was
didn't
just
do
keep it where they
anything.
were.
And
They didn't do anything.
I hate when people say, "Oh well, we get an A+ offseason grade because we re-signed a guy." No, you should resign your star players.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. I think again, I don't know my full predictions, but the both New York teams are very commonly great always roster wise, and they still mess up somehow. And it's always that ownership, that management, and those fan bases. And you never know what's going to happen. So I like that take. And I know we only have a little more time. There's one more team I want to highlight from this offseason. And you were talking about the AL West a little bit, and there's one team you didn't mention, the Athletics.
Angels.
Well, the Angels are not a contender at all.
Yeah, I know.
Let's skip over them
Yeah,
forever. But the Athletics, I mean, they're looking good. The Sacramento Athletics, whatever you want to call them right now.
yeah.
That team never looks good. But they just made one of the best extension signings I've ever seen as a baseball fan. Jacob Wilson, 7 years, 70 million. Brave style. They did that with
Bargain,
Acuna. They
like
did
Ronald Acuna, Ozzy Albies style. Like,
Ozzy Albies makes like $8 million a year. Acuna
yeah,
makes $10 million a year, and that's what Jacob Wilson's going to be doing. I don't get it. I don't get why Jacob Wilson took it. He's a young player, and it's a great time to extend him, but he's worth more.
yeah.
And they also signed Tyler Soderstrom to an extension as well, another 7 year deal. And they also traded for Jeff McNeil. You've got a bunch of little pieces there. Their infield looks so good. They've got Jacob Wilson. I'm blanking on some guys, but they've got Nick Kurtz at first base, one of the
They
best
got
power
Brett
hitters in
Warwick.
baseball.
Sorry, I'm mispronouncing his name.
Brent Rooker,
Yeah,
and then they've got a great catcher who's always forgotten about, Shea Langoliers.
yeah.
That team's good. Are they going to contend this year? I don't think so,
No,
but
but
I'd look
I have a
out for them when they
conspiracy
come to
about
Las
that.
Vegas.
I have conspiracy about teams when they move into a new stadium, they're trying to be as good as possible because they don't want it. They don't want empty seats in that stadium. I think my conspiracy about the A's, even though everyone complains about the Fisher ownership, all that, I think they're going to start spending some money. Because here's the thing, being in Vegas, you're going to generate so much more game day revenue than you would in Oakland. It's like the Dodgers, they probably do 10 times in game day revenue than the Royals, let's say.
Of
Nothing
course.
against the Royals. I'm just saying big market for small
Big,
market.
yeah, no,
And
it's how it works.
Vegas, pretty big market. All the UFC, the Raiders, like WNBA champion, a lot of teams are there. Rumor is NBA is going to get a team there, and I think you know that's going to bring up the competition. I think the A's in like the next couple of years they're going to kind of go through that thing that they had from like I believe 2015 about 2020 it was where they were a
Mhm.
consistent playoff team. I don't know if they ever won more than like a series in the playoffs, but I think they're about to get through their little, I don't want to call it a golden age because they're not, I don't think they'll win a World Series, but they're going to be a premier playoff contender and like someone who's going to fight for the AF for the AL West every year. And I mean, the only reason I think they didn't win more in the late 2010s was just the Astros had everybody.
No, absolutely. You're completely right there. And they'll be really fun to watch. But, I have so much more that I would want to talk about and could talk about. Um, we don't have unlimited time, but I appreciate you bringing me on for today. It's great to be a part of ABL Sports, and I really like what you're doing with it.
Yes, thank you, Jackson. And we're going to kind of make this a continuation as we get more in the March, April, and the summer months. We're going to do a lot. We're going to be pushing out a lot more MLB content. We're going to have a lot more MLB people on. So thank you, Jackson. This is a great first time. Certainly won't be the last.
Appreciate it.